Hi and welcome to this webinar of Daily Living by Parkinson Quebec. My name is Claude Nael and I will be your moderator for this event. So thanks for being with us. Today, this webinar will try to answer the question, how to maintain autonomy or to be well prepared if it starts to decrease. I would like to introduce you our speaker, Mr. Pascal Girard. So Pascal Girard is a social worker at the CUSUM Movement Disorder Clinic since September 2016. In this multidisciplinary team dealing with people with Parkinson's disease, his role is to provide psychosocial support and assist patients at all stages of the disease, from the diagnosis to the advanced stage. He has worked for the CUSUM since 2014 and he previously worked in, among other departments, in oncology or orthopedic traumatology. So before I turn over to Mr. Girard, just let you know that there is a box at the bottom left of the window. So if there is any answer about the subject or about like technical problem, feel free to write them there. So it's about the subject, we're going to answer them at the end. And if it's about technical issue, I'm going to answer back right away. So I will now give the speaker the place. So I hope you're going to enjoy it.
Thank you. So, as Claude said, my presentation is about autonomy, how to maintain it, and be well prepared if it starts to decrease. Well, first, I would just like to thank all the patients of the clinic, all the people that I work with, mostly the patient, because I learn from them every day, and this is, with them an example of their success that I have built this presentation. Thing that I noticed and said that, well, that's a good attitude or a good trick, or that's that I have learned. So thank you. Here's the drawing, a drawing of a drawer. It's open. I guess this is an image. Well, talking about a patient, that's the first image. It's an image that a patient have told me about when we're talking about death, and she said, let's open the drawer to talk about the subject that would be scary, unpleasant, and like a subject who's normally unpleasant and difficult to talk to. You open the drawer, you talk about it, like we talk about today. Sometimes autonomy, loss of autonomy, advanced illness. Those are all like, not the most pleasant topic. So you open the drawer, you talk about them. So you better prepare. You have to talk about all those things that normally we don't talk about. You close it, and then you go on with your life. The same thing like when someone is doing it, their will and things like that. When you open, you talk about that, you close it. So everything I say today, it's a little bit in that attitude. We open the drawer, we talk about that, then you can close it. That's an image you can use too if you talk with your family or someone else, caregiver or a patient. That's a good image to use to talk about those subjects. Well, I will start by describing 3 different models of healthcare and services. You will see why I want to do that before we really jump into the autonomy. It's really related to it. So that little part is inspired by the presentation. It's in French. Le virage patient-partenaire, un dialogue pour faire équipe, par Vincent Dumais and Sylvie Lafrenière. You see the link on the bottom. You can watch it on YouTube. First, the paternalistic approach, which is mostly the old model that was used in hospital setting many years ago and some place still, where you see all the little people at the top. There's like black, red, purple. Those will be the expert, for example, like the neurologist, the doctor, the nurse, the physiotherapist, the occupational therapist, whoever, the CLSC. They make a plan and healthcare plan. Like, for example, we're going to give that treatment, that medication, and the little blue character is the patient and his or her family. So as you see, the communication is just going one way. So a good example would be like if you broke your hand, you go to the emergency room, they do a cast or whatever, you go back home. You know, it's a one-way unless you have many questions and all that. But if not, that's good for this type of treatment. More simple, for example, like simple illness or simple injury. Next one, patient-centered approach, where you could see the patient and his family or her family or at the middle of the circle. And then the communication is both ways. As you've seen, you see all the experts on the outside, and the communication would be both ways. So it's a more fluid way to work, where it's all about your needs. For example, well, I got difficulty to sleep. You know, if, for example, it would be someone with Parkinson and they would talk about the symptom with the neurologist, the symptom, give the treatment, talk about the symptom with the occupational therapist, something else, I have difficulty at home. You know, the communication in both ways, which is way better for a more complex illness like Parkinson's disease. And then the last approach would be patient-partner approach, where, as you can see, it's like a circle, a fluid circle, where the communication will be all the time, like between all the people. And the difference between the previous one and this one is the patient and the family are part of the circle. So they are also expert in their home domain. Like the neurologist would be the expert of treatment and the illness and things like that. Physiotherapist, physiotherapy, and you're the expert of your life and your project. So it's make often for treatment that would be more adapted to, you know, the project, the life you have, and just make it better for you. It's mostly that model, and we tend to that model, I think, more and more. So it's from hierarchical, right? Sorry, in English. Relation hiérarchique, and to the collaborative relationship. So why I talk about that? Mostly because, as I said, you know, it's not like a broken leg or a little cold. Parkinson's is a very complex disease that really need you to take your health care to your home hand and be part of the team. Of the experts. So that's mean to be proactive and to be really involved as much as possible. So it's a little bit more, it's you need to be more involved than this relationship. But when we talk about something like autonomy, that's really the model that we need to tend to be more and more involved. And also in the last model that I show, where the patient and the family are involved as expert, is also because sometimes you can ask your neurologist or people if there's research and other where you could be you could participate in research, for example, if that's something that interests you. So you are also involved in the progress into all the research in the illness. So as I said before, you know, Parkinson's disease is a chronic neurodegenerative, incurable, constantly evolving, progressive, and complex. So that's why we need something to tend more into the model where you're more involved. And the advantage of going to this type of model is that it allows the patient to be a full participant in his care or care. So you will feel more respected and more involved. So you're going to also make more informed and have a better insight into why you're taking one's pill, why you're doing this thing. So you're making better choice. And for us, for people in the team also, it helped in a sense that they show study that it helped to have a better compliance with medical prescription, because the prescription is often more accurate than if you would have, if you're not involved in your care as much. Also, it facilitates the treatment by the team, yeah, because better collaboration, it's always easier to work collaboration. So, and as you're probably aware of most of them, but Parkinson is a very complex disease with many, many symptoms that you can separate mostly into category, motor and non-motor. So in motor, as you know, tremor, rigidity, balance, symptom like that. And non-motor can go sleep issue, fatigue, sexual issue, cognitive, mood, depression, apathy, anxiety, hallucination, and other from both sides. And I put in the bottom, you will see I put like the link to a guide that was done by two neurologists and one that's I work with. So maybe I preach from my paroisse. I don't know how to translate paroisse in English, but you will see you can find it online. And I put the link at the bottom. Why I talk to you about this guide or any guide is the first step for autonomy is and to be involved in your care is I think the first is to educate yourself. It's really to read about the illness and know what can happen. Doesn't mean that you will have all the symptoms, like everybody's different, but you will probably aware that those can be symptoms of Parkinson. So for example, if you feel like you have like sleep issue and anxiety and you go see your neurologist and you said, well, maybe I will not talk to my neurologist about that because it's not motor symptom like tremor and rigidity and things like that. Well, by reading more about the illness and also I think it would be good for you to focus also on the non-motor. You will be better served by your neurologist and by the team and people. So have a better autonomy and quality of life if you get also treatment for the non-motor symptom. So that's my first advice. Be more proactive, but educate yourself. Like just watching the webinar like you're doing is a good first step. And we're gonna talk later about that too. Okay, so when you go see your neurologist, here's a drawing. Well, I guess the woman is the neurologist and the patient is the man. Sorry, when I said to be more involved, the first thing you can do is once you see your neurologist maybe twice a year, maybe 3 times a year or so. Some of you may see them once a year, depending on the need too. You will go to their office and you see them for some time, 30 minutes. It's very short when you think about it for someone who's doing the treatment. So that's why you need to be as prepared as possible when you see them. So here's what not to do, for example, in that drawing. You will see the neurologist asks the question and the person, so how are you doing today? And okay, sometimes you have some patient, you have to like really, work to get the information and sometimes you don't get them and there's something they want to tell you and that could be frustrating for you too because if you go see your neurologist and you said, how are you doing? Well, I'm good mostly, and she's gonna ask or he's gonna ask for the question, but that they might not be able to take care of all your symptoms because if you see your neurologist once every 6 months, you may forget things that happened 4 months before or concern that you had before. So here's what I think would be a better approach to when you see a neurologist. Well, you will see the man got a little book, like a journal. So I think one thing you can do is buy yourself a journal and write in it like all your symptoms and reaction to medication and everything. So you're going to be more involved, and this way you're going to be also more have more treatment that's adapted to you. You make the neurologist's job easier, but by being more proactive, they will be able to treat you better. So you will see, she asks question, the character go into his note. He also asks question, note your question, before, so you don't arrive there just with the anxiety or the stress. You can forget your question and you get out of the office and you say, oh, I didn't ask about this issue. And also, so I put that the character is accompanied by someone from his family, a friend, wife, husband, brother, anyone. But that's good because you involve people in your care. So they can also, if, for example, you make them read the guide and also educate themselves on the illness, well, they can be aware of some symptom. They could say, you know, during your sleep, you get this thing. So they may not always be related to Parkinson, but I don't think you lose. It's good to know them and to ask you questions. So it will just be easier. So just by, for example, I got an example or a patient that came to the clinic once, get a prescription, go back home. And she came back 4 or 5 months later, and she was in terrible condition. But she, you know, she's not the person who communicate the most, but she has stopped the medication because she had side effect with the medication, and she just waited at home. She didn't call us, and she was not able to take care as much of herself in her house. So her quality of life and her autonomy was really diminished because of, you know, maybe a lack of communication, and with a phone call, maybe to, if you have team member like I don't know, some of you have a nurse that are attached to the neurologist, some of you work with multidisciplinary team. It's good to take any number you can get. So if they prescribe you something, you see you don't react well, you know, you call them if it's a possibility, so they can adjust your medication for a better quality of life. So what else you can do? So mostly what I first said is like be proactive, be part of the take your health and into your own hand, and it's a project. Empower yourself and educate yourself. And other thing you can do, we're gonna pass a little bit more in detail those, but you can nurture your social life, join a support group, read about the illness and follow research, which is before, exercise, adopt a healthy lifestyle, nutrition, for example, keep doing the activity you are able to do and love, inform yourself of available services in community organization, for example, CLSC, community organization, Parkinson Quebec, etc. Sorry, prepare legal document. So why do I say first nurture your social life? Because when your autonomy diminishes, you will need maybe those people to maybe sometime go give you an end to do grocery, or give you an end to come help you coming to your appointment or thing like that. It's often easier to stay at home as long as possible when you have people around, and just because if you isolate yourself, it's just making things difficult. So, well, I guess this thing is what everybody say since you're young, or I'm very young, like you have to exercise. I think it's pretty simple, but it's proven that any type of exercise will just help with mostly overall health. But with Parkinson, there's study that also proved that there's benefit to doing them. Improve muscle flexibility, coordination, balance, help with walking, dexterity, prevent stiffness, give energy, and promote relaxation. And it also increase self-confidence and provide a sense of general well-being just by, you know, you go do the exercise, and it's just helping with those. So it helps with non-mental symptoms such as stress, mood, and insomnia also can help. So, you know, no need to start if you never exercise. No need to start by doing a marathon. That's not recommended. But just doing what you're interested in. I know that there's a lot of dance group and boxing class. I know it's a thing that a lot of my patients are doing. They really enjoy the boxing. Some are doing yoga, tai chi. Some are swimming. It depends also if you're doing that. Some are doing walking. It depends on your level of autonomy too. But you know, there's no age and there's no state where there's always exercise you can do. For that, you can see in your area what's available. And again, if you're on the website of Parkinson Quebec, you just contact your local the local branch. and maybe they can refer you if they know any special activity or group, or ask your healthcare team too. That's a good question you can ask if you see a physiotherapist or neurologist. Okay. And if I say that, but if you are at risk of fall or you walking with the walking aid, maybe you better ask the question to the person giving the class or to the physiotherapist before what what can what can you do, and if there's any risks. So so those are sorry, organization that you can contact. So as you, well, you're on the website, so you know them, Parkinson Quebec, which have a ton of documentation, a lot of documentation on the website that are very well made, and some that I use and some that patients have shown me. So they're always good for that, and they know also if there's support group in your area, any activity, any. So you know, I'm in Montreal, but another area like Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean or Eastern Township, wherever you are, like call your branch and they could see what's available. The other organization that I want you to be aware of, and that could be another step you can do, is your local CLSC, because again, I think they're crucial into the home, your autonomy, and how to stay at home as much as possible, because they're your friend. That's what it means. But call them to see what services are available. If you will see how CLSC work, they have different services. Like they can have they can also know community organizations that are there that can help you, and they can refer you. For example, if you can call them and they can tell you where's the Meals on Wheel, is there like volunteer that help with transport, is there some other type of support group. But as your illness is progressing, if you find it difficult, for example, just getting into your bath and thing, the CLSCs can do something that's called home evaluation of home. So they come to your home and they evaluate your home to see, well, maybe you should put a bar there, maybe a bath chair could be a good thing. So there's an occupational therapist that often does that, and come to your home to evaluate. If you are autonomous, you can call them and they can tell you what's available. You can prepare. They wouldn't come to you unless they have time. You put yourself on the waiting list, but they work by emergency. So if you feel like, for example, if someone come to the clinic and they have fall, they cannot wash them, get into the bath anymore. They just have a bath with shower. Well, often what I do when they talk to me, I'm going to send a request to the CLSC where I said, as soon as possible, go to evaluate home in need. So that could be faster, but if you can just call to ask question. Doesn't mean they will come right away, but you will be aware of what they can offer. So, and as illness are progressing or autonomy, you losing autonomy, they can offer a service like a hygiene assistant. They can help, with bathing. And hygiene. They can help with sometimes cleaning your home. They can help with if there's prescription and they have like you have cognitive problem or memory start to be difficult to remember when to take your pill. They can do monitoring. They can sometimes come into the morning or when you need to take your medication and come. But call your CLSC and see what's available. I think, or go in person. You will see, and in general, they're probably happy to answer questions. Be proactive than requests, like so they. You can prepare. I also put there like, well, this one is just a rehab center. This is one in Montreal, but you maybe have some in your area. So if, for example, that's mostly the physiotherapists, the neurologists, or the team, whoever, if they think that you need rehab for walking or anything, well, they can refer you. can ask a question too. For those of you who are autonomy work are going together, for those of you who are working, I refer you to that guide that you see on the screen. There's the link, which is really well made, and it's a good introduction to financial resource guide for people with Parkinson's disease, work disability, and income support. So they can tell you what's available, and they can tell you they have like testimony of people that what they do. Do you tell your employer? Do you not tell? What can be done? Mostly, it's a case by case. I would say to you, for the people who work and are, do I tell my employer? Do I not? You know, it's getting difficult. Talk with your team if you're available, or they're available, or talk with your family. It depends if you have a good relationship with your employer. I said, go for it. I think maybe you can say if you feel comfortable. It's in your right. You don't have to say your diagnosis to your employer. So if you prefer not to, don't do it. For some, it's easy. Some prefer not to say. Some prefer to say. It's, you know, I work with people, and when is the right time you can do it. You can see there's different. Sometimes you can do some adaptation at work that can be done. I know some people go part-time. Some people are doing télétravail, you know, from home sometime, but it depends of what you doing. Mostly with work, I would say read that guide. I think it would be good. You can prepare yourself and see. If you got any insurance, private, look at what's in your insurance. Maybe you can get massage and other thing in that could help, or physiotherapy. But also you will say if you got like a disability or insurance, which can sometimes remove just the stress of like, oh, if I'm not able to work anymore, I got disability. Yeah. But, and also there's a webinar on that too that I think you can, that will be more person who know the subject way more than me. So home adaptation, well, I have to tell you first, I know someone pointed out in the French presentation that this is supposedly not okay. The little toilet is not well adapted. I'm sorry, I found the picture online, but I'm not an occupational therapist, so I guess this is not really. It's just to show you that, you know, you can have home adaptation. When I was talking before this, you see this bar on the wall with the bat, elevated toilet seat, the mat to not slip in the bath, at the bottom of the bath. There's a bat chair up there to show you. There's different model, but there's different things that you can use. And sometimes what you can do right now, I think is, yeah, your home can be adapted. I think the first thing to see is look where you live. I know some people are living in an apartment with an elevator. That's good. Some people are living in an apartment on the third floor with just stair that turn and stair, you know, small step, and that could be problematic in the long run, because as you know, difficulty to mobilize are part also of the illness as it progresses, and maybe one way to maintain autonomy is also to maybe thinking about moving to a location that would be more adapted to your need. There's a little trick also. I know that they give some time, like if you're cooking and you're still able, but you have more difficulty to reach higher thing or lower bending, just try to reorganize your kitchen, or ask for help if you have someone one day to bring all the plate and thing a little bit more to a level where you don't have to, you know, climb on the stair to get them or anything. So store accessible to avoid leaning or climbing. And there's also a program, I know it's often done, I'm not the most aware of that, but there's a program of home adaptation that can be done. I know with CLSC, for example, I sent a request not too long ago for a woman who have more difficulty at home, and there's a program where they, well, it could take more time, but right now they are putting a little, you say, like a little elevator for a wheelchair, like a stair lift, this kind of thing. One other thing you can do if you are, because there's high risk of of fall for some people. I know that the balance. It's a common subject, and Lifeline. You know those little bracelet with like if you fall, you just have to click on it, and they have all your data, and like they would send someone. There's sometimes sad story where someone fall and they don't have access to the phone, and they spend more time than needed on the floor before someone come. That's a way often to keep peace and said like, I want to stay longer in my apartment, and you have someone for your family that's more worried. Well, I think that's a good service you can get to, so people can sleep in peace. This is, well, okay, prepare a legal document. That's one thing you can do, prepare for loss of autonomy. I just show you it's the mandate in case of incapacity. So that's mean you decide who you name would be the person who's making choice on your behalf. If you're not able to make a choice, you will see the address on the website. You can get it in English. It's pretty easy and straightforward how to fill it up. I think it's a good thing that anyone should do, even without Parkinson. It's just make things easier for everyone when they need to have a decision. And you also, like I said, open the drawer, prepare those things, and you close, and you can just sleep in peace more. The second thing you can do is prepare the power of attorney. Financial, I think it's a good thing to do too, that I know that a lot of people, if they don't do it, that can create some issue. If you cannot go to your bank, or sorry, you start to have a cognitive issue. Well, you go to the bank with someone that you trust to take care of manage your finance, and you said like if something happened, or that person can make a transfer or withdrawal payment for myself. It need to be someone you trust, but that would just remove the stress of not making bad choices. And for example, with Parkinson, as you know, for some people that's associate a cognitive decline, or cognitive decline, which would, if sometime have someone have difficulty and make bad financial choice, well, if you have someone named as power of attorney, it's easier to control. So not to control you, but control a situation that could turn into a really bad story if those are not make easier for your family. Okay, transport. Let's talk about, well, as you know, autonomy for most of you, a lot of people is related to driving. A lot of people having their car and being able to drive is really their autonomy. If you remove the car, that's like removing your autonomy. What I can say about that is, well, this is an ongoing discussion with your neurologist or your family or anyone. Normally you have to say, if you have a diagnosis of any type, you're supposed to say when you renew your driver's license. The physician cannot remove your license. They can say it's better if you don't drive, if they think it's a danger to yourself or to other people, because we share the road. And they can send like a warning to the SAEQ, and the SAEQ will be in charge of just, you're gonna pass another driving test, and if they feel like you're still able to drive, you're gonna keep your license, and they're gonna evaluate every year. This is often a difficult discussion, as long as you're aware of the consequence, if it's getting difficult or maybe not going as far. But the role of the neurologist is not to remove your license, but if they feel like it's a danger, they could do it. Also, though, if you lose your license or you feel like you're not safe to drive, well, don't drive if you feel not safe. But there's other option too in your area where you could ask your CLSC, but there's often like service of transport adapté. That could be a good way to move around, like if you need like special transport adapté. And there's other type of service, sometimes community organization in some place that help with medical transport that I would say call a CLSC and they can tell you or if there's any activity. And I put the little the disabled parking ticket for you to be aware that if you have difficulty you can drive or not drive or someone's driving and you have difficulty to walk, you can get that ticket. You can get the form online and you can ask someone to fill it. Like that could be a nurse, a neurologist, occupational therapist, not me, not a social worker. I don't think I can. Anyway, there's some criteria, but you can ask if you can see if you fit them or not, if you're eligible. Okay, last I put well, autonomy. Autonomy is often like I put like a nursing home. You see, like on that little balance, there's a CHSLD. So those are nursing home. There's different type of nursing home for autonomous, semi-autonomous, residence type, and total care, like full care, which would be CHSLD type. And I put the house on the other one. So I put them in a balance because I think those are discussions that you can have and see, with how we talked before, if you get service from CLSC, when is a good time to sometime move, not move? Well, you can just, what I do sometimes with some of the patient, and when we have a discussion pretty often, with some of them, you take a sheet and simple. You said what would be the advantage and the inconvénient, let's say weakness, the inconvénient to move to residence, and the same to stay at home. So for some people, moving to a residence would be the advantage of security, and so that would maybe sometime help you make a decision, talking with other people, depending on the support you have at home, and it's often a balance between being have the good insight of the risk you take if you stay at home, and sometimes be comfortable with the risk. Some people have said, I may fall, but I want to stay at home as much as possible, and I'm aware of the risk. And some other people, they prefer the safety of this setting like a residence, so they can just sleep more peacefully. For some, it removes the stress of how to cope with your home and being alone, because if meal are included, another type that could be removed. That so they have for some, I say that because for some they see it as keeping your independence longer. They move to residence because they're able to be independent to do what they want to do, if it's social activity or anything. And for some other, staying at home is keeping you independent. So that's a discussion you can have, and everybody's different on that note. And also you can speak with, I encourage you to, if you feel like your autonomy is declining, with the CLSC, or if you have with the team, it would be, well, I'm going to advocate for my profession, but I think it's good to have a social worker to try to accompany you in that journey, because they can help with your need as they progress, and that's a discussion you can have at that time if you stay or not, if you stay 6 months or not. But those are discussions for the future too. So this is my email. If you have any question in the future, the same thing as the neurologist, if you forgot, oh, I have that question, well, you can write me. If it's a simple question, I will be try to answer you as fast as possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So we're gonna ask a question. If you have any question, you can ask them in the middle. So it's gonna change. So you can ask if you have any question about the subject or for the speaker. We will be ready to answer them. Just gonna go with one that I got while we were talking. We're talking about that you need to be with someone, like if you have family, wife, or maybe friends. But sometimes there is people that are more like alone or don't have any family, so it can be hard. You know, if there is some, I would say, resource that are available to like help people that don't have a big family or like their family are away or stuff like that to help them.
Like resource that would come with them to appointment or
Yeah,
thing like
and
that?
to pass this.
There's some in some. It depend of. I know if people are depend where they live. I did this type of volunteering before where I was going to medical appointment with some people. So sometimes there's community organization that do. They say like yeah, it's like volunteer that would come to your medical appointment. I know like for in Montreal in some neighborhood it's available. I think I would refer you to your CLSC to see like if that's the service that's available because someplace I just don't know. You can also ask. I know, sometimes some people are coming with, when I say invite someone, it's not always it's not an obligation or necessity, but yeah, I know women who come with their landlord. She got a good relationship with her landlord. She come with her landlord. Some people are coming with, if if even sometimes some people I explore with them. Do you have people? And they said no. And I said, you don't have, a neighbor or someone. Oh, but I cannot ask. They're busy. I encourage you to really. I encourage anyone to ask. I know it's hard for a lot of people. It would be for me too, but to ask for help. Yeah, someone come with their landlord. I was impressed, and the landlord is very supportive. And if not, like some people I know too, well, ask the CLSC if that's something that would be a good thing to make the first contact with the CLSC, but ask them if that's a service that available in your area. And if not, I don't know.
Maybe like someone you trust and
Yeah, I think it's
feel
someone you
comfortable.
trust. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
If you don't feel comfortable, I think it's better to be alone. For some people which have conflict, it's also sometimes come alone than bringing a person that make it detriment. Nothing on that is really, those rules need to be respected. It's just uh, if you had them all, that could help you
From
having a smoother journey.
From what you saw with your experience.
Yeah, because sometimes with some people they're not always aware of the cognitive decline or the non-motor symptom. You can have an insight of someone who said, I'm fine, and the person said, well, you're crying a lot, but just that could be sometimes something hard to talk, and having someone else who advocate for you. That could be
somebody that is able to see it from the outside.
Yeah.
So you were talking about like home facilities or home support to favorize the autonomy. Is there? Do you know if there is any kind of financial help available to help with that, to like facilitate the
for home adaptation?
Yeah.
Well, there are some. Well, through CLSC, I guess some are covered. So I guess you got that when they help with like. I'm not so aware how it works, but I know for some people they can like provide the budget to get how many hours of service per week. For example, 3 baths a week, or the adaptation could be covered to that. I know, like I said before, a little bit, there's through the Gouvernement of Quebec, there's the home adjustment program, which called, and I'm not aware of all those criteria and everything, but I know there's I guess we can put the link, like the Gouvernement of Quebec home adjustment program, and like I know that person will get the stair lift through that program, but yeah, there's that, and it depends of the persons that if someone is working, got insurance or home insurance, I think it's good to all look at all the thing people pay for insurance, but you're not always aware what's in them. So maybe in your home insurance, I don't know, those are all different, and that could be something that's there. Like some people said, oh, I got like dental thing on my insurance, but they're not aware of everything. That could be one thing to check. And people who are income security, for example, well, some stuff, if you're on medical income security, some stuff are covered through that too.
Okay. And if we were talking about like those tools, like wheelchair, the stair lifter, and any tools like that, where can you get them? Is it like you're going to private shop or anything, or is it with the public service that you can get it?
Well, it depends. I'm not so sure if it's the same everywhere. I know us, like for example, at the MUHC where I work in Montreal, there's, so I know that the physiotherapists sometimes when someone need a walker, the hospital is providing one walker. It's through a program. I'm not so sure. So I would refer the person to their neurologist to see if they're aware or again the CLSC or physiotherapists that they see, which are more aware of this kind of thing. Some people are buying them privately, but sometimes they cover also so that's a good question. I'm not so sure.
So, like you said before, it's also maybe with your insurance that you can
Yeah,
have
that could be
some.
with the insurance too. In general, I think I don't know fully the answer because I'm part of a multidisciplinary team, so often those questions are more answered from the physio and occupational therapist. I think if someone have question more specific about that, they can write me too, and I could ask them and see, which often I do, the same thing with me. I don't always have the answer as the patient, and sometimes it's better to ask the question.
Yeah.
And that's very good.
And we were talking about like home facilities and how to get your home more useful for people with some maybe have walking problem or stuff like that. If you want to get your house evaluated, like how long can it take, and where can you like say you can go to say,
Yeah.
okay, I want this. Where
it can take a long time, I think. It depends. Well, I don't know. I work in Montreal, so there's a lot of people. The CLSC have to, they have they have to serve a lot of people. I don't know how it is, and depend where you live. And you live in a smaller area. I don't know if maybe they have as much people because they cover bigger, but it depends on the delay. But I know sometimes home evaluation, even with situation that should be soon, sometimes can take up to 6 months. Some place could be less, I guess, if they have. Sometimes it depends from the area where you are. So that's why when I said like it's good to call the CLSC and see how it works while you have. It's not when you have the diagnosis you jump and you need to, but as if you're concerned, you can just go and see how it works and how they work in your area, and that could like often like be easier on you. So the next time, if you notice, well, I know it takes 6 months. They tell you around 6 months. Well, I'm gonna ask my neurologist to send a request for home adaptation, for example, or nurse or family doctor sometimes can do that, or you can just call too before, a little bit earlier, proactive, I guess.
I have another question that is more medical subject, but we're talking about autonomy, and sometimes it's connect with like cognitive aspect. But with maybe your experience and the patient you saw, does every patient have a loss of autonomy at like that is getting like the people are getting better? Some of them just it doesn't change. Or some of them it's like,
yeah. It's a very complex illness, as I learned by working with people, where some people have very different range of symptoms. This is a hard one to answer. I mean, it's a progressive illness and neurodegenerative, so I mean, you can prepare in general for a loss of autonomy, but some people is with the medication, they first get the diagnosis, they get the medication and they get better, for example. So you can have the plateau and like you could have some loss and then adjustment, and this would move like this, but some other, like sometimes that could go fast, so that could be a plateau and then drop, and it depends on treatment when they could go higher. In general, I'm not a specialist, but there's still like it's progression, so neurodegenerative. But I think if you ask your neurologist how much year I got to before I would be, for example, in a wheelchair? That question is often would be hard to answer because depend on the progression. So sometimes the neurologists, if they see you every 6 months, for example, and they see a change every 6 months, well, you know the progression could be a little bit faster. But then a treatment too. Sometimes some people are like, from a 6 month, they could have a loss and they plateau for a while. So
it's hard to tell what's
yeah,
going to happen.
it's really hard to tell, and it's a question people ask often, and it's really hard. And sometimes, some people I work with people that have worked at the clinic for 15 years, and they said that woman, she's been, she's good like since many years and mostly stable. So good.
Okay. I know that we ask this question to like every specialist we have, but I like to have.
Do they have the same answer?
The opinion, yeah,
Okay.
it's almost the same. It's almost the same thing. It's just to have the opinion and see from any kind of specialist. And I have another one that is more also medical, but feel free to answer it. It's like there's people asking, do you know if sometimes people with Parkinson can also be diagnosed with Alzheimer's? So it's very connected.
That's a question they ask you often. Well, I guess at the clinic, I would they call it more dementia. I guess they say sometimes there's dementia associated with Parkinson. They get cognitive problem and memory problem. The question: do you know if patient with Parkinson also die? Not all the time. So mostly not all the time. I mean, it's some people would have motor symptom that could be heavy and they do those tests and they cognitively they're really good, and some other it's more the cognitive side of it. So no, I don't think so. You could ask your neurologist if you worry. It depends on it's case by case, but no, that doesn't mean you're going to be diagnosed with Alzheimer. And it would be, I know sometimes, yeah, those can be memory problem, but there's also the age that come like that.
So it's a little bit like the other one we just asked about the other.
Yeah.
It depends on the patient.
Yeah, and I think it's good to like I said at the beginning, I show all the symptoms, and it doesn't mean you will all have them. Some people don't have some of them at all, and some other have them.
So maybe we'll go with like maybe one question comment. So if you have like in one sentence or something that you will say to like your patient, if you have someone in front of you about the autonomy, just to, I don't know, to make them feel better or give a little bit of hope, or like to get them some empowerment, like what you will tell them. I know it's hard.
Yeah, it's so hard. I don't know. Well, empowerment, like I really, that's why I stressed at the beginning with the model and thing. I really think it's a chronic illness, so people live with it. But I see many people that, we discuss about the illness, but they go on with their life. They still have like very healthy life, often more busy than me. Sometimes some people have, they keep doing what they love if they're able, or sometimes changing and discovering new passions. So I see people that have like very rich life, even with illness at all states. Some people have loss of autonomy, would be in a wheelchair, and before they were athlete, and they have adapted their life, and mostly what I stress on that is like really be active in your care, and you are by watching. I think already the people who are watching that, it's already good. But if you want to encourage people, they really need to be proactive on their care as much as possible, and finding what's available and getting out of your home if that's something that you like, or be proactive. It's just easier to cope if you just sometimes you spend a day and you call those places, so you get the information, so you will just be better if you do that on a Friday, you're gonna have a better week. That's what I said, and I see it with some people that really, some people are calling me more, and sometimes they said like, I'm not in a hurry, but can I get information about that? The transport this winter, I'm a little bit stressed. Some people are doing that, and I mean, I answer them, and can store that. And it was the middle of the summer, and some other are like they have the appointment the next day, and they said like, help, I cannot come. I didn't have, and they stressed, but if they call me, it's still good. But if they were a bit more proactive, well, that removes some of that stress. I think, yeah.
Perfect. So thanks a lot. We're gonna stop by this comment. I think it's really nice, and it finished well this webinar. So I hope everybody enjoy it. And thanks a lot for your presentation.
Thank you,
Mr. Girard. So sorry. So we will. I will invite you to the next webinar. It's going to be about sexuality. It will be presented by Jennifer Dohan, who is, I think, one of your co-workers. So we're going to talk about sexuality. It's going to be on November 15th, so at the same time. And if you have any question about today's subject, so about autonomy, you can send them to me or directly to Mr. Girard. So if there is anything, let us know. And I will thank you again for being with us today. And I hope you enjoy. So see you next time and have a great day.
Thank you.